Congressman Joe Heck is here. How are you?
I'm good, Heidi. Good to be back.
Was it weird addressing the legislature as a former member of that august body the other day?
It was, but I'll tell you, looking out into the chamber, there's an awful lot of new faces from when I was there.
Aren't you glad you're not there anymore?
I am. They have a lot of tough issues to deal with, and I wish them well, but it's going to be a long slog till June sine die.
Isn't it interesting that there's always this emphasis on how the right won't give it up? The right won't come across the aisle, right? The right won't bend when the left never bends. The left went up there to Carson City, and they said, we want new taxes. And I was joking about the teachers last hour who were, and not all of them that feel that way, but the ones who do, more taxes, and there's no way they're going to bend on that. But you Republicans are intractable.
That's it. We're the ones who are the party of no, right?
Yeah.
We will never give up. We will never bend. The election in November actually has consequences, and the fact is, the people both in the state and throughout America have said we want something to change. And so that's what we're trying to do as the Republican Party, is bring about that change and say, look, people don't want taxes. They want to get our spending under control. They want some predictability and stability in our economy. And that's what we're trying to deliver both in Washington and in Carson City. But we're constantly being stonewalled at every possible opportunity.
Yeah, I think most people understand that once you get back there, there's a lot of horse trading, and you can go back there and say, this is what I believe, here it is. But there are times that you're not going to be able to get your way no matter what you believe, because you either don't have a majority or you can't get the legislation to the floor, whatever it might be. And so I think most thinking human beings understand that, and they still feel as if you've got the principles and you're trying to fight for the right thing, then, you're all set.
Yeah, that's what I've heard from the folks that we talk with. Look, go back, fight hard, and we've done that in Washington, D.C. We push as hard as we can for the things that we can get done, and there are certain things that we just won't be able to get done, realizing that the Senate and the White House are still controlled by the other party.
Yeah.
So, we fight as hard as we can for the things that we can get on behalf of the American people.
There's talk, of course, in the House about changing the way Medicare operates. It was interesting story Wall Street Journal yesterday, I'm sure you saw. I'm talking about how Medicare doesn't really exist anymore the way we thought it did. I don't mind the idea of a voucher. Of course, I don't think it's even going to be around for me by the time I get old enough to need it. But, as a doctor, what are your thoughts on the future of Medicare as we know it?
Well, the fact is, the future of Medicare as we know it, there is no future.
Right.
I mean, it's going to be bankrupt within 20, 25 years if we continue on the same path that we are currently on. And so the proposed budget has mechanisms in it that, one, protects current and near seniors. Anybody 55 years of age or older will not see anything change ever about the current Medicare.
So it won't go broke, because we know it's on the road to being broke. Even if you don't make changes to it, because that's not what your proposal calls for, it still will have enough money, you believe, to be able to fund it for those people 55 and older?
Yes. The numbers show that for those folks that are 55 or older, the program will remain exactly the same. For those 54 or less, the program will change, and it changes not to a voucher, but what's called the Premium Support Program, similar to what Medicare D is, where a senior is able to go out, look for a plan that meets their needs, purchases that plan, and then the subsidy, the premium support, goes directly to the insurer. So it's not you're going to be given a check and then say, go find an insurance policy. You go pick a policy. They're going to be guaranteed issue. And people say, look, at the age of 65, how's somebody going to insure me? I'm going to be sick. It's guaranteed issue. They're going to have to issue you the policy. The amount of premium support you get is going to be roughly the same as to what we currently pay per person for Medicare now.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a stipulation in there that if you get sicker, you'll get more premium support, realizing that you're going to get require more health care. And for really low-income seniors, there's going to be health savings accounts that will be filled for them to help them with their out-of-pocket expenses. And that's, we have to have generational change to make sure that if we want Medicare to be around, that it will be around. And the way to do that is to protect the current seniors, those that were close to being on Medicare, and then for future generations say, look, here's how we're going to do it. You'll be able to get a patient-centered, personalized insurance plan that you can pick from, and then we will help you pay for that plan.
Now, those plans would come from what? The insurance exchanges that are part of Obamacare?
Well, we don't accept the premise of the insurance exchanges because we're still trying to take care of that issue.
Absolutely.
But no, we're working on the premise that it'll be, private plans that you would go out and purchase.
I don't know if we're going to have them, though, Congressman. I don't know if we're going to have private. That's my thought is that, the whole objective with Obamacare is when you force insurance companies to take people regardless of health or age or that kind of thing, they're going to go bankrupt, so the seniors aren't going to have an option at all.
Well, I think, those are the two kind of parallel pathways that we have to deal with. One is what are going to be the long-term outcomes of the healthcare reform plan, and two, how do we move forward with Medicare? But I think that this is a reasonable way to move forward with trying to maintain Medicare for future generations while keeping it safe for the current seniors and those who will soon be seniors.
It's scary because you know as a doctor they keep cutting your reimbursement from Medicare, and you also know as a doctor that you don't have to take Medicare. Nobody has to. I talked to my personal doctor. He said 50% of the guys he knows and girls who are doctors are not going to take Medicare once Obamacare kicks in, if it does, because it's not worth their time.
Well, we see folks, I see docs, my friends within in the community are starting to step away from taking new Medicare patients because of the low rates of reimbursement. I mean, it pays less than what the actual cost of service is, and the difficulties in getting paid. It takes forever to get a claim paid.
Yeah, no question. Congressman Joe Heck is with me. 257-KDWN, 257-5396. Got a question for the Congressman. We'll get to your calls, and I've got lots more to chat with him about, including, of course, to big news. Was it a shock? Dean Helen is getting the nod for Senate. We'll talk about that. Sharon Engel, all that good stuff. With Congressman Joe Heck, I'm Heidi here. Here's Mitch Kelly in the KDON, Nevada Federal Credit Union Traffic Center.
Pretty jammed up along 95 southbound from Pass Dan Road down to Craig. Traffic now moving a little bit better through downtown. Had an earlier accident 95 southbound at Las Vegas Boulevard that was blocking the left lane. Now you're still going to be slow as you approach the Spaghetti Bowl on 95 south with backups beginning at South Rancho, but hopefully with that accident in the clearing stages, we're going to see that traffic flow improving. No major problems along I-15. Though we are starting to see some southbound slowdowns building south of the Spaghetti Bowl down to Sahara. No trouble along northbound 15, 215 and Summerlin Parkway drivers enjoying good conditions. Off the freeway, accident to Southwest Russell at Valley View and car fire cleanup going on Rainbow south of Russell. From the KDON Nevada Federal Credit Union Traffic Center, it's Mitch Kelly on News Talk 720 KDWN.
All right, well, you know I got a house full of dogs, and for some reason I keep winding up rescuing others, and that's why I've got to have Zero Res Candy. Zero Res carpet cleaning keeps my carpet looking great. And the great thing about Zero Res is they don't use soap and chemicals. A lot of people have allergies, and this time of year things are blooming and growing. You bring it in on your feet, and it's in your carpet. So you're still sneezing, and you wonder why. You need to call Zero Res today at 567-0016. That's 567-0016. Their patented technology doesn't use the soap and chemicals, so that can cause problems for people too. Zero Res doesn't do that. 567-0016. Tell them Heidi here sent you, and they'll clean and sanitize 3 rooms for $129.95. That's Zero Res carpet cleaning. 567.
The day past the coins and no UPS. See the coin star at American Coin Express. Coins and currency, championship. We're the Everett in the coin business. Finding a barrel is a name to know. If you want a top dollar with a place to go, the best price for coins and no UPS. See the coin star at American Coin Express.
American Coin Express, Nevada's largest coin and currency dealer, now with 2 superstores on both sides of town, on Sunset Road and Sahara at Fort Apache. Both stores open 7 days a week. We have the experience to get you the best prices guaranteed. So stop into either American Coin Express superstore and see why we're the coin stars of Las Vegas. Call 248-COIN or click AmericanCoinExpress.com.
The best price for coins and no BS. See the coin stars at American Coin Express.
Where does Las Vegas celebrate happy hour?
Blue Martini at Town Square.
Monday through Sunday from 4 to 8 p.m. Unwind at Las Vegas' largest and most talked about happy hour. Blue Martini in Town Square. And your day with half-price cocktails, martinis and beer, along with reduced price appetizers for Blue Martini's new menu. Remember, all cocktails, martinis, and beer are always half price during Blue Martini's happy hour. Monday through Sunday from 4 to 8 p.m. with reduced price appetizers for their new menu.
Blue Martini, Town Square.
At your
service pet supplies, sure knows pets. At 55 South Valley Road in the Fifth Shopping Center, have a pet with allergies? Pick out the perfect holistic organic brand of pet food from a huge selection. At your service pet supplies also carries aquarium supplies and provides complete grooming services. At your service pet supplies, south of the 215 on Valley Road, call 982-4327.
At your service pet supplies.
On 720 KDWN. Hey there, it's me, Spring. Yeah, I'm in the air again, and I wanted to make sure you're on top of all the great deals heating up at at Johnny Walker RVs. Just don't tell me you thought the only thing heating up was the weather. It's okay if you did. I mean, you may have been hibernating all winter, but it's time to wake up and get on the road again. In honor of me, spring, Johnny Walker RVs has a bunch of great ways for you to celebrate my awesomeness. I'll be the first to admit that Johnny Walker RVs has the best deals in the valley on motorhomes, travel trailers, fifth wheels, toy haulers, and a boatload more. With the best brands and quality service that nobody can beat, it's just unsprung-like to not get yourself down to Johnny Walker RVs and experience the savings. I promise you'll fall in love with Johnny Walker RVs the second you lay your eyes on them. If you're the type of person that likes to have fun, then give Johnny Walker RVs a call at 458-2092. Or better yet, go visit one of their 3 locations on Boulder Highway today. If you haven't visited Johnny Walker RVs in the past 48 years, well, I think it's about time. The Heidi Harris Show, Las Vegas' #1 morning talk show, weekdays 5 to 9.
Congressman Joe Atkinson, you're liking it, aren't you? You're enjoying that DC thing.
Well, you know, it's got its moments. I'll tell you that. It's got its moments.
Yeah. So what's the most fun about being a congressman? Besides the title and the people following you around Blackberries telling you how great you are. Besides that, what's the best thing about being a congressman?
Well, it's being able to try to shape policy to make things better. You know, and it's nice when I come home and somebody else you come up to me and say, thank you for that vote, or we appreciate what you're doing for us back here. That's what the best thing about it is.
What about the other people who go, hey, you're a jerk, why'd you do that, right? That's the tough part of it.
That's a tough part of it, but, you know, you got to take it for both sides.
Yeah. Do you feel as if you are able to get your message out to people who might disagree? I mean, do you feel as if between you having a website and things like that, your town halls and various things, that you're able to explain to people why you've done what you've done?
I think so, and I think we did a town hall a few weeks back where a lot of folks came out very energized about a vote that I took, but I was able to, you know, there's folks that when you explain it, you feel a light bulb go on, and they're like, oh, okay, I still don't agree, but it makes sense. And then there's those folks, and it doesn't make a difference what you say. I mean, you know, they're not going to agree or even want that light bulb to be turned on. So, you know, you do the best you can getting the message out to the people that are willing to receive the message.
Yeah, 257-KDWN, 257-5396, questions for Congressman Heck. Let's talk about, with no surprise, the governor is going to put Dean Heller in the spot. Senator Ensign should have resigned a long time ago. I'm not trying to drag you into bashing him, but he should have for the sake of the party. But he's done the right thing now, finally. Dean Heller's going to get the nod. Interesting column this morning, Jane Ann Morrison begging Shelley Berkeley to not run. That was kind of interesting to me.
Well, I'm glad to see that Dean did get appointed. You know, there's so many critical things going on right now that affect our state that you don't want a caretaker put in there for 18 months who's really not going to have the ability to address the issues well. You know, Dean has been there. He's well respected. He knows Nevada issues. He's a solid conservative vote for Nevada. And so moving over to the Senate will allow Nevada to continue to have 2 senators representing them in Washington, D.C., as opposed to 1 in a caretaker.
That's important. And also, of course, you know, it opens up the situation with his seat. I'm not sure what these people are going to do, but it scares the hell out of me that you've got Ross Miller and our attorney generalists in charge. The Foxes are in charge of the hen house when it comes to clarifying what's going to happen in a special election. There's no way they're not going to be partisan in their approach.
Well, I certainly hope that we come to a fair decision. I mean, unfortunately, the legislation of the law is a little nebulous about how it's supposed to happen. Should it be a party nomination? Should it be an open election with everyone who wants to sign on to the ballot? Not only both major parties, but minor parties, independents. I mean, you could wind up with a ballot as long as the Las Vegas mayor race. You know, it just continues down that road. And I don't think that's going to be beneficial for anyone to have that many people who are able to sign on to the ballot and run. So it remains to be seen. The governor needs to set the date, and then it really is out of his hands, and it's going to be up to the Secretary of State to decide, along with the Attorney General's input on how it should proceed.
Yeah, on the one hand, I don't like the idea of parties anointing people to run. That's a little frustrating to me and some other folks. On the other hand, if you have everybody and anybody, I don't know, it may swing more for the Democrats, because the Democrats might get together with some of these candidates and go, no. If we have, 18 Republicans, we'll have a better chance of winning, so they'll try to keep some of the Democrats from running, I think.
Sure, and I think when you look at the voter registration within the primarily the 16 counties of District 2 and the kind of suburbs of Clark County that within District 2, I mean, there's still a conservative majority. But if you're going to divide that up 4 or 5 ways in a free-for-all election, that allows the minority Democrat to win. And so that's a concern. And Not to mention, again, we don't know what's going to happen in the 2012 cycle after redistricting. The District 2 will look totally different.
That's a whole mess.
So that's another whole issue. I think, if the parties were able to do it through caucus, through central committee, polling, I agree. We don't want to see an anointment of a few members of the leadership of the party, but I think there's a way to find a middle ground, perhaps a straw poll, kind of thing amongst the party members to pick who they think is the best person.
Well, that's the whole point. You've got to pick the strongest candidate. I don't think that person's going to be Sharon Engel, do you?
I don't know. I mean, it seems that since the 2010 cycle, she's lost some support.
How about she raised almost $1 million the first 3 months of the year? I was shocked at that.
Tapping in her national database and raised a lot of money.
Yeah.
She said that she's committed to running for the District 2 race as a Republican, but didn't say whether it was for this, special or if it would be in 2012.
Right. So there's a possibility that if the Republicans pick somebody, Kroenke or somebody to run, that she could potentially go third party or independent or something, and then they were in big trouble.
But she still has a significant base of support in the rural counties, and she'll be a formidable opponent on that, crowded if it is.
Well, that's the problem, and I like Sharon, and I'm not, believe me, I'm not questioning her ability to be a good candidate, but if the Republicans don't pick her and she runs third party, then she gives it to the Democrat. That's what scares me about it, and I'm wondering, and we'll talk to her about this, but I'm wondering if that's the right move to make, because you have to think about, not just about yourself, you've got to think about the party and the country ultimately, because you go back to D.C., it all goes back to Republicans and Democrats. Ideology is great, but when you're running along party lines a lot of times, you've got to have, the majority of your party in to win.
Right, we definitely want to keep, that seat in the right column. I mean, certainly, we needed to maintain the majority that we have in the House. Certainly, we're looking forward to 2012 to picking up additional seats in the House, hopefully picking up seats in the Senate. 23 of the Senate seats that are up next time are Democratic seats. And we need to start getting that majority in both houses so that we can then, hopefully we'll take back the White House, but if not have additional leverage in trying to move the agenda that we think is best for the American people, which is to control the spending and kickstart the economy by giving some predictability and stability.
Yeah. 257-KDWN, 257-5396. John, welcome. You're on the Heidi Harris Show with Congressman Joe Heck.
Good morning, John. Heidi. Congressman, I just want to say I had the honor of getting to meet you personally in one of your political parties, and just want to say I feel you are a great congressman and a gentleman as well.
Well, thank you so much, John.
My question that I have is, I know the state is trying to create so many new jobs for the state, but should we try to concentrate on also saving the old jobs as well?
Like what kind of old jobs, John?
I know getting more construction, getting workers back out on the field.
Okay, good question, John. Go ahead.
Yes, thanks, John. Yeah, definitely. We need to attack the problem from both sides. One is trying to bring new technologies and industries to Nevada to create jobs that we haven't had before, and then we also have to get back to the point where those folks, certainly in construction, we've lost 60% of our construction jobs over the last several years. Do I think we will ever get back to that level of construction? Probably not. But we certainly need to bring back the construction jobs. We need to maintain the service industry sector, which is really the cornerstone of our economy. And those are the types of things that we're working on by saying, look, Nevada, we're kind of like the Marines. We're first in and last out when it comes to the recession because we're so dependent upon the rest of the country doing well and having the money to come here on a vacation. And so we got to look at it from a much more national and global perspective before we start to pull out. But we're working on trying to bring those new industries, those new technologies to Nevada. So that, again, we've talked about economic diversification. You were talking about it before I came in. We've got to get away from the mining and the tourism gaming industries as our two primary sectors. We need research and development. We need manufacturing. We need warehousing. I'm glad to see that the legislature passed a bill about inland ports. I've talked about that for many years. Those are the kinds of things we need to move down the road to bring in Nevada. But as you said, we certainly got to get back our construction workers and we've got to make sure we maintain the service industry.
Yeah, we're talking about green jobs. I'd like to see the green belt jobs come back. I mean, honestly, there's all this push for renewable energy. And as a member of the military, they're trying to push. We went out to Nellis Air Force Base and said, the Air Force needs to be a part of the renewable energy. Why should they be a part of renewable? That's not. Did I miss something? That's not what they're there for.
Well, the Department of Defense is trying to look at a lot more, from a national security perspective and from being more self-sufficient on their posts and bases. having some type of energy like we did out here at Nellis with the solar field.
Yeah, so they don't worry about the planes flying over and breaking the stupid glass. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that doesn't make sense to me, Congressman.
You gotta have that all of the above mentality, not just in energy, but for Nevada in industry and business. And we need everything, anything.
We have all the above. It's called the Air Force. It's all the below that I'm worried about. All the garbage they got to fly over and do tests to avoid. All right, we're going to take a break here in a second. When we come back, you recently went to the Middle East. We're going to chat about a terrible tragedy that occurred in Afghanistan, and it's not the first one where our people were killed. And certainly you've been over there and had to deal with, you've got to work with the natives. You simply have to, and you did it over there serving, being a doctor over there. We'll talk a little bit more when we come back about how you can weed these people out. I don't know what the answer is. We'll get that from you, Congressman. We have a lot more to chat about, like gas prices you're responsible for. There's also a congressman who wants to put a debt clock, the big debt clock that you see. He wants to put one in. Congressman Joe Heck is with me. Let's talk about your recent trip to the Middle East in the context of this horrible, horrible attack in Afghanistan. I mean, it's horrible that somebody who's working with the military on a daily basis just one day gets mad and just guns down some of our incredible heroes. I can't even stand the story.
Well, and it is a tragic story, and we were over there last week. We visited Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan. And while we were in Afghanistan, the group I was with, we actually were there. We attended a memorial service for 6 soldiers who had died just a few days earlier in a all-in-one incident. And the issue with this most recent attack of the Afghan national is I think they're still trying to sort out was he truly part of the security force or was it somebody who grabbed a uniform? Because we saw that at the beginning of April, somebody who just had a uniform was able to make it into the Ministry of Defense and cause a commotion. So is this the next insurgent tactic where they're now able to get uniforms, seem like they're part of the security force and gain entry into areas that should be otherwise secure?
Well, that's scary. I mean, it's really scary. You have to, you were over there. We have to work with them. Obviously, we can't not work with anybody.
Well, and I'll tell you, after being there in especially Afghanistan, and we met with President Karzai, we met with General Petraeus, we met with the troops, we met with the NATO training mission, and they are making incredible strides in getting the Afghan police able to provide security to the villages, in training the Afghan National Army. Now, just every operation is done jointly. I mean, when the U.S. sends out or NATO sends out a patrol, there are Afghan nationals right alongside of them, and every soldier that I've talked to, sailor, airman, marine, saying they are ferocious fighters. They are fearless. They are dedicated, and they are motivated to be able to provide the security for their own nation. But we still have the insurgency that's not totally get routed and rooted out, and so you have the opportunity for this new type of tactic as we start to become more accepting of having the Afghans within our wire. Now you're going to see folks trying to use that as the way to get in.
So what's the end game over there? I mean, we can go over there and we can try to make nice with them, or we can have little pockets where things are all going well. But I mean, we can't fix their culture. They're not going to ever have anything that even distantly resembles what we have here.
The goals are to make sure that the Taliban doesn't get back into power and to root out the terrorist safe havens. And we've done a good job at that. The terrorists really are not, their safe haven is no longer in Afghanistan. Now they're right across the border in Pakistan. With another whole issue over in Pakistan and how we deal with that issue. And the Taliban is on the run. We visited a village. I went to the village of Marja, a small little dusty village that now has a school with 500 kids in it, including girls. We walked through the village. Said a year ago you wouldn't have been able to do that. We visited a couple of other towns where the provincial governors are now setting up local government, and people are coming back to the governors to take care of the issues that they're having, and they're starting to become more and more self-sufficient and self-reliant.
So how long do we stay, though? I mean, we can have little triumphs along the way, but ultimately, what's the? I agree with you that at the very least, if we're keeping the criminals on the run, these ones who want to attack us, and we keep them on the run, and their ability to regather is somewhat hindered, I see that as a good goal. But I mean, for how long?
Well, and that's just it. We've got to make sure that they are set up for success this time, as opposed to post the Soviet invasion when they were set up for failure. And that's what allowed that vacuum, was what allowed the Taliban to take hold. And I think we're on that path now. The timeline, the notional timeline is 2014. We're out of Afghanistan. Will we be to the point where we can turn over Internal security then, I think we will. Will they be able to provide their own external security, external from foreign invasion? I don't know. And I think that there will be my personal opinion is that there'll be an ISAF, a NATO mission there past 2014, just like we're still in Bosnia, going on 16 years with a small stabilization force, a security force. So I think we are making gains. The NATO mission, the training mission over there is doing incredible work, building up both the police force and the military. And we just got to get them to the point where they can take, instead of being a split 50-50 patrol, NATO, Afghan, that they'll be able to do the entire patrol.
So we've got, we care about Libyans, we don't care about Syrians. When Syrians get gunned down in the streets, we don't really care, and they say it's a lot worse. We don't even know because they won't let reporters over there. We see little videos that seem to be pirated out of the country, but in general, we don't know how bad it really is. So Libyans, good. Syrians, we don't care.
Well, and I was very vocal about the operations in Libya, thinking that it was the wrong thing to do at the wrong time. We can't continue to be the world's 911. We just can't afford it in either.
We can vote our stuff up. We can do a good job, but that's right.
But eventually, again, Libya is analogous to Bosnia. It started off as a no-fly zone, preferred humanitarian mission to protect the civilian population, and then all of a sudden it was boots on the ground, and we're still there 16 years later. That concerns me. It also concerns me that the Congress wasn't involved in this decision-making process. And like you say, how do you pick and choose not just Syria, but on the other side of the African continent, over in the Ivory Coast,
right.
Thousands of people are being slaughtered by a despot. The fact is, there was no clearly articulated U.S. national security interest in going into Libya, and that's got to be the metric that we use to determine whether or not we're going to use our forces and our resources to intervene.
Now, when you're over in the Middle East, I know sometimes it's tough on these trips because it's almost like you're getting a Universal Studios tour. They take you down, right? They take you down certain streets who they want you to see and all that kind of stuff. But did you hear anybody who has less respect for America, especially in the case of Libya? Here President Obama makes a decision, but we're not really in charge, and we're not really going to try to get Gaddafi out. And NATO's looking at him like, well, wait a minute, you're the leader of the free world, but you're not showing any leadership. Are you seeing other nations as viewing us weak? Militarily because of this?
I didn't see that during the trip that we took through the Middle East when we were there, through that region. But of course the leaders that we met with are all intent on trying to get more from us, so they were going to be very complimentary about
it. Right, yeah.
And tell us the truth or what they really think. But I think when you look at the intelligence that comes out of those areas, I do believe there's this issue of whether or not the U.S. is being seen as becoming weaker rather than stronger, and how we've been applying our military.
Now, that's a little scary. Congressman Joe Heck is here, 257-KGWN, 257-5396. Got a few more minutes with the Congressman. If you've got a question, we come back. It's your fault that I'm paid almost $4 a gallon for gas yesterday, Congressman. We'll get to that. I'm Heidi Harris. Here's Mitch Shelley in Decatur, Nevada Federal Credit Union Traffic Center.
Not seeing much relief along 95 southbound from Ann Road down to Craig. Then you're still stacked up South Rancho through the Spaghetti Bowl. These are leftover effects from an earlier accident, 95 south at Las Vegas Boulevard. The accident long since gone, but the slowdowns remain. So they brought to you by Century 21. 95 south, typical braking, light braking through downtown. 15 southbound drivers averaging only 30.
Is here. It's your fault I paid almost $4 a gallon yesterday. What in the heck? Why is there no sound at all out of Schumer, Pelosi, anybody about gas prices? It's gotten awfully quiet back there in D.C.
Sure has. People want to know what are we going to do about gas prices.
Yes.
The problem is, these gas prices are a result of a failed and flawed energy policy that we've had for decades. The continued reliance on foreign oil, the inability to use our own resources that we have nationally, moving towards exploiting not just our oil resources, but our coal or natural gas. Oil is used in so much more than just your gas.
The countertop is petroleum.
Exactly.
Pantyhose are petroleum.
And when you have a global commodity and there's potential disruptions because of unrest in the areas that are big suppliers, you see these issues. As we came back through from the Middle East last week, we had to do a crew rest stop in Belgium. $10 a gallon in Belgium. $10 a gallon.
It's a smaller country. I don't mind paying that. If That was drive 20 miles.
It was 1.5, on their reader board.
Right.
I thought, I was talking to the driver, I was like, oh, wow, $1.50. It's 150 euros, and it's per liter.
Yeah, per liter, right.
Per liter.
That's a little bit scary. So here's the thing. Every time it gets high, we in America start rattling the chains a little bit, say, oh, we're going to drill. Then they drop it, and then the major insurance companies, I've had the American Petroleum Institute on numerous times, and then they'll say it's not worth drilling when it's below a certain amount per barrel, right? Then when it gets high, we talk about drilling more, not under this administration, but in the past, and then OPEC drops the price, and we'll forget about it until the next time they shaft.
The thing is, starting drilling now isn't going to do anything for gas prices now. What it'll do is prevent the next spike in 10 years.
Right.
And that's where we need to start looking about how are we going to prevent this from happening. We saw it a few years ago. We got up this high, and then they started to fall back off as things started to stabilize in the Middle East, and the demand started to decrease. The prices started to come back down. And I think what's important for people to remember is, the single largest driver of the cost of a gallon of gas is the price of oil per barrel. Mm-hmm. And, there's this kind of rule of thumb that you can use that if you take the price per barrel and divide it by 40, that gives you the amount of the price of oil per gallon of gas. So right now we're up at about $110 a barrel, so almost $3.
Plus local taxes.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting.
That's what kills you.
Then there's almost $3 is right to the cost of oil.
Right.
And then we have the federal highway tax, which is about 18 cents on the gallon. You have the state tax, which is 24 cents on the gallon.
County tax.
So when you finally get it, about $3.50 is oil and taxes. Mm-hmm. And so that's why we've got to get back to addressing the primary driver of the cost, which is the cost of oil.
Right, but they keep trying to tell me they want me to drive an electric car with a battery that costs God only knows how much and will last God only knows how long. And, within 5 years, the battery's supposed to last, 5 or 10, depending on which car you look at. But you and I both know, Congressman, in Vegas, the car battery lasts...
The car battery is gone in 2 years.
Because of the heat.
Right.
And so I don't even know how long a car battery is going to... And they're supposed to are thousands of dollars to replace, which makes that car basically junk after a few years. People just trade it in. So that's not obviously the ticket.
And I think it's the same thing when they started with the push for even just hybrid vehicles.
Right.
Is the fact that unless you're going to keep the car for 8 to 10 years, it doesn't. The cost of the additional cost of the hybrid doesn't pencil out, and that's right. The issue. And so unless you're that kind of person who says, look, I'm going to do it just because I want to decrease my carbon footprint. Fine, but if you're doing it because you think it's going to save you money in the short term, it's not going to happen. And we got to let market forces drive it until the cost of those types of vehicles come down and they become more economically feasible.
I got a place for my carbon footprint. So many people. 257 KDW and CJ. Welcome on the Heidi Harris Show with Congressman Heck.
Oh, thank you. First of all, I have 2 questions, and then I'll hang up, and you can answer them. And I love Joe here. Anyway, the first question is this. If we drill for oil within our own country, does that oil become ours, or does it become the oil companies? That's one question. Second question is, what about this new proposed changes in the passport applications where they ask questions that are impossible to answer, such as when you were born, who was in attendance, what was their telephone number, where did your mother live?
No. Seriously, they ask those questions on passports, CJ?
Serious.
Okay, let me ask the congressman. Let me ask the congressman.
The oil question, CJ, honestly, no. If we drill for oil here, it's a global commodity. It's going to be traded globally. But anything that increases the output globally will drive down the prices.
Well, correct. It's just letting market with more.
And just 10 of the largest oil companies are actually state-owned oil companies. They're owned by the country where the oil comes from. We certainly don't want to go down that path here in the United States. As for the passport question, I got to get a copy of that application, but I actually just filled out an application for a new passport, and none of those questions were on it. So I have my staff back, and somebody else had emailed me about this, and so I have my staff back in Washington trying to pull one of those applications to see exactly what questions they are asking. But I just filled one out about 3 weeks ago, and those questions weren't on there. So if they are asking those questions, they'll certainly be hearings about it.
I haven't applied for a passport in a long time. It seems a little ridiculous, but sometimes they ask them what was one question. Of course, there's more questions than Obama could answer. He released don't you have to laugh at this whole birther thing? He finally supposedly comes up with his birth certificate, and my whole thing is if it was such a big deal, why did it take you so long to give people what they wanted?
Yeah, I think it's because there was some, generate that controversy, the publicity. It's a way to keep your name in the news. Say sometimes, it's better to have bad news than no news.
Hey, speaking of keeping your name in the news, Donald Trump. Do you see anybody on the horizon, Congressman, from the Republican Party who could really be a potentially viable candidate for 2012?
Well, I do. I think there's been a lot of names that have already, been put out there, and certainly, Tim Pawlenty, who's, I think is, he was out here for our CCRP meeting not long ago. Has got great ideas, did well as governor. Mitt Romney, I think, will always be a viable candidate. I do. I think there are other folks that are out there whose names will come up as we move along. But I don't necessarily think Donald Trump is one of them.
Yeah, I don't see it happening. I like Chris Christie, but he's not going to run. I love Mike Pence, but Mike Pence is going to run for governor, right?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Mike hasn't said, but I think that's based on what's his position. I think that's what he's probably going to do. And I think you're right. I think Chris Christie probably will serve out his term in New Jersey, probably do another term, and then he might be ready for the national stage. But sir, he came and spoke to the National Republican Congressional Committee's annual dinner. Did a phenomenal job. I mean, he's just a really dynamite speaker, very animated, and I think he's got a lot of potential.
I think he's terrific. Who won and who lost in the budget? Because obviously a lot of people say, the Republicans won a little bit. They got some concessions, but really not much drop in the bucket compared to how much you could have gotten.
Right. Well, again, as I mentioned when we first started off, we have the House, we don't have the Senate, we don't have the White House, right? And for anything to happen, it's got to get through all three places. We said we were going to cut $100 billion, and we did. We passed the bill that cut the $100 billion. It went to the Senate. Obviously, it didn't go anywhere. So we came back and said, okay, what can we do? We have to have some short-term continuing resolutions to keep government in operation. And so we were cutting on average $2 billion a week during that process.
Which the Democrats, by the way, let's remind everybody, Democrats were supposed to get this budget done while they still have the majority. They did not do it. They left it to you guys.
They didn't even propose a budget, and they failed to pass any one of the 12 appropriation bills in the 111th Congress. So we were cutting $2 billion a week. Then we said, look, we've got to finish this off because we've got next year's budget that we've got to get to turn the debate on. And so we wound up getting $40 billion total cuts, which over the decade will be $315 billion because we cut baseline spending. It wasn't just everybody thought it was one shot.
Not just one thing, right?
That was part of it, but we also did baseline cuts, which means that those cuts will now stay in place moving forward, and so there'll be additional savings throughout the decade. But I also think what was important is that, the inside baseball stuff is that we're able to get 2 up or down votes in the Senate as part of the deal, saying, look, we want an up and down vote on health care, and we want an up and down vote on Planned Parenthood, which now makes those 23 Democratic senators that they're going to be up for re-election are going to be on record for those votes come 2012. And so there were other things that were put into that final package that I think, while not having direct financial impact, will have significant impact in the out years.
Well, like I said before, there's a certain amount of horse trading that has to go on. I think most reasonable people understand that. Do you feel pressure from the Tea Party? Are they on everybody sort of standing there moving over you, staring at you, saying, hey, do it our way?
I don't feel under pressure. I mean, certainly I get emails from Tea Party folks. I also get emails from people on the left that want to express their opinion and try to influence a vote. And I think that that's their right to be able to reach out to their representative and express their opinions. And I don't get any more email from one side than I do the other. District 3's got 1.1 million people. We're the most populous congressional district in the country. So we have a lot of folks that we're trying to answer to and take care of, which is very difficult, for a staff that's designed in both Washington and here to take care of the standard 700,000 people. We're trying to take care of 1.1 million.
Pedaling as fast as you can. Congressman Joe Heck, good to see you. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Heidi. Good to be back.
We'll talk again soon. I'm Heidi Harris. Oh, listen, I just find Dad you're listening to.